and thank you very much for joining us on the fourth episode of the CMA Samvad series. I have my eminent panelists over here, Advocate Hutokshi Tavadia, who is a very senior member who has also been very passionate about this whole area of mediation, and she's a senior. She represents both labor as well as management in the high courts, and she has experience spanning several years and on both sides of the panel. Please welcome Advocate Megha Gurav. Megha Gurav has also been one of the founding members of the CMA, as well as, again, very passionate about the field of mediation. And as you know, our criteria for inviting our guests has been that they are true believers in the idea of mediation and bring not just their experience and expertise, but to infect you with their inspiration and the passion that they carry for the idea that it is possible to foster harmony and bring about peace in ways that are alternative in nature. And that's what we are going to discuss. Our regular guest, Advocate Parvez Khan, is here again with us, this time from a different setting, not his office, but his residence. So welcome, sir. Yes, and to all our panelists, those of you who've joined in to listen to this erudite discussion, of course, made in a very accessible way, because we want the lay public to understand the power of mediation. And today we are really going to be focusing on industrial and labor disputes. So I'm going to start the contextualizing with Advocate Megha Gurav. Ma'am, if you can
Yes,
give us
Deepa. Yes.
overview, if you can give us a context setting so our panelists and all the future viewers can understand mediation in the context of industrial labor disputes, ma'am.
Thank you, Deepa. Good afternoon, all. Today, we are on mediation in industrial and labor disputes. For the first time, we will see what does industrial dispute means. Industrial dispute is dispute or difference between workman and employer or between workman and workman, which is connected with the employment or non-employment or the terms of employment or with the condition of labor of any person. It is the dispute where any employer discharge, dismiss, retrench, or otherwise terminate the services of an individual workman. Any dispute or difference between that workman and his employer connected with or arising out of such discharge, dismissal, retrenchment, or termination shall be deemed to be an industrial dispute. India has number of labor laws that governs almost all the aspects of employment, such as payment of wages, minimum wages, bonus, payment of gratuity, contributions, contribution to provident fund and pension fund, working conditions, workman compensation, etc. That all aspects are related to employment. In simple words, a dispute or difference arises when a demand made by the workman or the employer is rejected by him and vice versa. I agree with Pope Leo XIII. He says that each needs the other. Capital cannot do without labor, nor labor without capital. Strong employment create a pleasant atmosphere within the work environment. Employer and employee are two wheels of cart of healthy economy. Therefore, it is necessary to maintain peace and harmony between employer and employee to balance healthy economy. And for that, only the Industrial Dispute Act 1947, which is a special enactment, deals with the conciliation and mediation. Section 4 of the Industrial Dispute Act 1947 authorizes the appropriate government to appoint a conciliation officer charged with the duty of mediation in and promoting the settlement of industrial dispute before referring matter for adjudication to labor court or industrial tribunal. However, as we all know, most of the time common people hesitate to go to the court or lodge complaint, having believed that it may be long dragged and expensive time consuming process. In fact, no one win in court 100%. It's just a matter of who gets hurt worse. In such situation, the best available option will be resolving dispute by mediation. And the mediation is a facilitated way to solve traditional legal, personal, and labor disputes, and can be quicker, economical, and more pleasant process than litigation. So, thus the Industrial Dispute is connected with the mediation. So I think now our guest speaker, Hutokshi ma'am, also can be thrown light mostly on this
is
mediation.
very, very interesting. I really like Pope Leo II's quote that you have given. Very interesting. And I really like this, that no one wins, and it's a question of who gets hurt more. I think that's
Right.
really very, very sharp. Hutokshi ma'am, give us. So somebody is asking, what is CMA? So CMA is the Center for Mediation and Arbitration. Somebody just posed the question. Hutokshi ma'am, I would like you, as someone who's been working in this field for several years, to tell us a little bit about some, experiences that you've had, which have further made you a firm believer in this process.
Okay, now before I go straight away into a case study or an experiences that I've gone through, my thought process on this subject has developed over the years. And those one or two points from my thought process I would like to share.
Yes.
And it is like this, that according to me, mediation has been there since the beginning of human civilization.
Right.
When there were communities and they were having disputes, they used to sit down together, discuss the issue, and sort out a mutually acceptable solution, which was acceptable to both parties. And at the end of it, the parties would shake hands, give a hug, become friends, and then leave.
Amazing.
After that, as our civilization progressed, or what we call progress, we developed systems where we started saying A is right and B is wrong. And that became the starting point of breaching the peace. Because when a person in authority says A is right and B is wrong, B is not going to walk away with a friendly approach towards A. And that rancor and anger and unrest will continue. So now slowly we are again coming to the realization that the traditional mediation which communities used to follow.
Yes.
Initially they were all agricultural communities, and therefore, and further it expanded. So that mediation is the only way out for the human race.
Wow.
In fact, I feel that some of the international disputes can also be sorted out through mediation instead of war.
Right.
Great.
That is, mediation is the way to international peace. And the mood and the climate and the temperament of mediation has to be created in the minds of each and every person. So that whenever they have a problem, they don't think, I will teach him a lesson. They think, let's find a solution. And who will help us find a solution? A person who is there to listen to both the parties, level out the anger, and bring it to a situation where each party tries to understand the other party's difficulties and situation, which will immediately invite a reasonableness, a rationality in the mind of the party, and an empathy for the other party's position. And the aggrieved themselves will come out with a solution for the other party. So now, I'm coming to a point now where when we moved away from traditional mediation into a codified legislative process, a legal process, where cases are conducted, there was a time when we stood up to argue a case in court, and we felt that there is a way out. And we suggested in the court while arguing that if my learned opponent, my learned friend, is willing to sit down at the table with us, we will try to work out a solution and a settlement, and we will come to the court with the settlement, or at that time it used to be called an out-of-court settlement. So once there was, and that is the out-of-court settlement will result in the case being withdrawn.
Okay.
And the court will not become part of that settlement. The parties will work it out. Then a situation came where when courts started accepting these suggestions, because many courts want the parties to get peace. So when many such suggestions started coming, a time came when parties with vested interest in delaying a matter would tell to the court that we want time to meet and settle the issue. And in that manner, delay the matter. When a court is ready to hear the matter, the party will use the word settlement meeting in order to delay the matter.
I see.
And the courts started understanding this ploy. So the courts would say, you are before us, you have to argue the matter. And so it went on that even those who could find a way into settlement, maybe 1 or 2 meetings were granted by the court, but the parties found that 1 or 2 meetings are not enough to arrive at that midpoint, because the anger cannot be watered down in 2 meetings. Then slowly and steadily, the mediation process became part and parcel of the legal process. Before that, there was one more stage in the court where the courts used to say, okay, this is what we feel. These are the merits of this case. These are the merits of this case. This party can move this much distance. This party can move so many steps. Now you all go out and work it out. Come back to me with consent terms. Then those consent terms started getting filed in court and would become order as minutes, speaking to them as a minute of the order. So what used to happen is the consent terms used to become an order of the court. So it became applicable. And such an order which has been arrived at pursuant to consent terms could not be appealed against. It attained finality there and then. So it happened that was one step further towards mediation. And slowly, this process became codified into a mediation law, where an official mediator would be appointed to make the parties come together. Because very often what happens is, I'll just take a water break 1 minute, please. what happens is that once two parties sit down to discuss, the only parties in that meeting are the litigating parties and the lawyers. Now, even if the lawyers can hear the voice of reason in their head, there is a point beyond which they cannot speak about the reasonability of the other side's approach, because their own client will feel that you are not representing us, you are now representing the other party. So therefore, an impartial mediator became absolutely necessary to navigate the parties towards a settlement. What do you think about this, Deepa?
Yeah, I think this is really cool. I've made some important, some important points that you've talked about. But very interesting that you talk about it from ancient times. There was this practice in the communities, and how over time, the moment you say someone is right and the other is wrong, there's a huge amount of emotion involved. And you talked about, there is anger, there is rancor, there is unrest, and nobody is really going to be happy. And I guess in industrial disputes in particular, people must be taking strong positions when they come in the first place as well. And it might only be as much as it would be even in a family situation, or a situation between two countries. No different, because humans and emotions would be the same, right?
So now from this, I can take you to some of my experiences.
Yes. And what would be very interesting is when you represented, give us a perspective from both sides, so that we look at it in a 360 degree. Times when management was being represented, when labor was represented, and, as a neutral party, how do you sort of find method in the madness?
So now, do you want me to proceed with some of my experiences?
Yes, I would like you to do that very much.
Okay. Now, I have represented managements as well as labor. So I understand both their difficulties. And I understand the styles which they adopt to communicate. Now, our management will communicate with sophistication, but the worker will tell you to your face that you are downright wrong. Now, that can offend the listener, as well as the sophisticated approach can make the worker feel that they're hiding something and saying something else.
Right.
So it is also a matter of trust.
Yes. Beautiful.
Now we will to explain how this dynamics plays out and how mutual trust and belief can be established. We will have to go through a case study.
Yes.
Now take for example, a company which has had, I'll straight away come to the second example, then I will come to the first example. Just a minute. Yes. The second example that I have listed, I will take first. And one thing I'm making clear that whatever I say, I have blurred the identities, but the facts are authentic.
Yes. Thank you.
I have not spoken about, I'm not going to speak about, even if I speak about a time period, you have to consider it as not accurate, because we have to maintain confidentiality about the parties involved.
Respect that.
Now, there was a company. Now, basically, I have to first make it very simple that industrial dispute is mainly dealing with employer-employee relationship. That is what every layperson will be able to understand in clear terms. What is labor practice? It's all about employer-employee relationship. And it is named as industrial dispute because definitions have to be specified in the act. So what is a dispute? What is an industry? What is not an industry, etc. For our understanding, employer-employee relationship today is sufficient. That phrase, terminology is sufficient. Now, there was a company which started 50 years ago. Those were the days when there was pride in being doyens of industry. There was pride not in the profit arising out of industry, but creating products which will be of use to the society. That was the attitude of industry heads at that time. The profit purpose was there, but the profit was not the main purpose of industry. There was a pride in being an industrialist and a self-respect in being an industrialist, which was not connected necessarily with profit. The worker also had the pride that is collaborating with the industrialists to create products for society. Slowly that culture has changed because of the heavy consumerism that has increased in our society. Wherever you have benefit, you move to that area, that culture. So this company which started 50 years ago, the workers and the company had the same attitude. The products of the company were A class. They were not products which could be used and thrown. You could probably use them for a lifetime. If possible, pass on to the next half generation. The workers also worked with that efficiency. The company also provided raw material and processes at that level. Now, the workers started saying every few years that they will need a salary rise. Now, when every individual worker starts becoming restless, it becomes difficult for an industry head to address each individual worker's grievance separately. Therefore, industry also needs a union who will pick up the grievances of the workmen and put them forward to the management in a systematic manner. And in that situation, the company started negotiating with the union of the workmen, this company that I'm speaking of. And after doing costing, working out, etc., every few years, a salary rise would be given to the worker. Now, the salary rise would consist of basic and dearness allowance. The basic is the wage, and the dearness allowance is the component which helps the worker to keep his salary at par with the inflation. Because last year what his salary could buy him, this year his salary will buy him that a little lesser. That is what the dearness allowance is all about. So as things become dearer, you get an allowance to get over that dearer quotient. That is why it is called dearness allowance. And this dearness allowance component is constituted by the government by creating a basket of requirements. What do you require to live? How much food grain, how much gas, how much electricity? How much do you require to celebrate festivals? How much do you require to send your children to school and to college? How much do you require to set up the children, get them married? So everything will be taken into consideration in this dearness allowance. And Accordingly, wages will be paid from which workers are required to save up for all the exigencies. And during Diwali, a bonus is also paid to celebrate Diwali. That is called festival bonus. I want to make a small correction in what I said, that the dearness allowance basket that the government has created may not be taking all the factors that I said which are necessary for living. In the sense like marriage of children, education of children, setting up children. To some extent, they cover whatever they think is required. So now, the wages increase, the dearness allowance increase. And after that, the workers are happy. The management is also happy. The workers are working from a happy state of mind, giving good production. The management is getting good work. And then, suddenly, the market forces kicked in to upset this balance that was there in this company. What happened was that this company was enjoying for all these years, for 40 years, they enjoyed a monopoly for their products. 40 years, as good as it gets. And then other companies came up, which started making more attractive looking products, but not that durable. So they could cut down on the cost of their raw materials. They could cut down on the cost of their labor workmanship. And this created a crisis in the market which this company was enjoying. Because people started shifting to the new product, which was cheaper and more attractive looking. And it was not as if the consumers were not aware that this product may not last as much as the previous company's product, but that use it for some time, discard it and buy a new one. That culture had come into society. And I remember in my school days, the first time this culture I saw was when the throwable pens came. When we were younger in school, we used to change the refill of the pen and go and buy refill. And the case of the pen used to last for eternity.
Yes.
Then started coming a certain yellow body and blue tip pens, which were looking so attractive. But once the ink was over, you have to throw it. Or we never liked to throw it because it was so beautiful. We kept it aside and we bought new ones. But we had to buy new ones. That is what I mean by a consumer culture was created. That again and again, more and more products have to be created so that the industry keeps growing.
Yes.
Of course, and that is connected with continually increasing the profit quotient. So instead of the pride in your product, you didn't feel bad if your product had to be used and thrown. That culture came in. So the whole culture changed, and this company had a hard time competing with the change in the consumer's mind. They were not competing with the new product because their product was uncomparable. They were competing with the change in attitude in the mind of the public.
Very important point. Yeah.
And they started approaching the union and the workers that in order to remain in the market, we will have to now cut down on salaries. And the workers could not believe it. Because they have planned their whole life and the whole budget around this salary. They could not see where they can cut. Because as you get more money, your standard of living also increases. Instead of having one table fan in the house, which is shifted from room to room when you change the room, you have put ceiling fans in all the rooms. So you are paying 3 times the electricity than what you used to pay. Several things like that. Those who did not have a radio had a radio. Those who used to buy new clothes only during Diwali started buying on 2 occasions, on birthdays as well as Diwali. So the standard of living had gone up. Where do you cut your corners then? How do you go from 2 pairs of new clothes to 1 pair of new clothes? How do you dismantle your ceiling fans and go back to the table fan? So the workers said absolutely not. The union said absolutely not. The management had many meetings with the union and explained the situation. The union understood the situation. They understood that if the company does not cut costs in some manner, the company will become unviable and that will ultimately affect the jobs of the workers.
They
But
understood,
yes.
they understood that point.
Yes. The unions understood the point, but the unions were not in a position to explain that to the workers because the workers saw them as their representatives and not as the representative of the management. Such a presentation to the workers would have seemed to the workers that the unions have become a representative of the company. If the union explains to the workers that the company will close down, the workers say company के पास बहुत पैसा. Now there was no way left but for the management to file a case, to send a notice, official notice to the union. I'm cutting out all the technical jargon. It's called a Section 9A notice under the Industrial Disputes Act for revision of service conditions. But that is not necessary for us to understand the subject we are speaking about. So the notice was sent for reduction of wages, and the union did not respond to the notice. So the company went and approached the Labour Commissioner for a conciliation as per the procedure in the Industrial Disputes Act. And the conciliation officer sent a notice to the union to come and attend the meeting. And in the meeting, all these things took place, which I explained so far. What is the viability? What is not? What should be done? What parties are not agreeing should be done? All those things. So now, it went on like that, and ultimately the workers said, we are not going to agree for a wage cut. In fact, it is time for a wage rise. And the workers told the union to put in a demand for wage rise. Because every 3 years there's a wage rise settlement. The 3 years were over, now put the demand. That demand was put up. That demand also went into conciliation, and the management said, no way, we cannot give you a wage rise. And ultimately, the conciliation failed. Now, the conciliation officer like a mediating person. He used to try to act like a mediator. My internet connection is unstable. Let me go to the hotspot. Deepa,
Yeah.
I'm going to my phone hotspot. I'm connecting that so that there is no break.
This is quite a nail-biting story, huh? Because the other party is asked for a wage increase, management wants a wage reduction, and there is the conciliation officer you're saying is behaving like a mediator. So I'm curious to know what that means.
Yes. Now the conciliation officer, somehow I'm not seeing my hotspot here, but I think the Wi-Fi has stabilized. Okay. Now the conciliation officer explained to was not a trained mediator.
Okay.
He used to try to work it out on his own how to explain to the party.
Hmm.
I remember he used to follow the same procedure that mediators follow.
Hmm.
Send one party out, listen to the difficulties of the other party, then send the other party out, listen to the difficulties of the other party, then call both the parties back in and tell A what are the difficulties of B and tell B what are the difficulties of A.
Correct.
And I used to notice that when he used to tell each other's difficulties to the other party, the parties who used to be in angry mood and who were in a fighting mood, they used to become very pensive and think about those.
Ah. Hmm.
Because they had never seen that angle of it.
Hmm. Okay.
And but then again, they will come to their ground reality and they will say, no, but we will not be able to manage if we reduce wages. Sometimes the union will try to explain to the representative workers who have accompanied them in the meeting. And the workers will say, workers mannar nahi.
Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
That is how it used to pan out.
Yeah.
And then the matter was declared as a failure in the conciliation. Matter was referred to court now for decision.
Okay.
Now, because the parties have not been able to come to an understanding, the court will decide what is to be done.
Okay.
And then both the matters are decided, where lengthy evidence is led. What used to be the wages, over how many years, how much increase was there, what is the financial condition of the company, what were the 5 years balance sheet profit and loss statement of the company,
Yeah.
what is the industry come region uh, principle was applied, where in this industry, in this region, what are the wages.
Hmm.
So it becomes a very long, drawn out,
Okay.
evidentiary process.
Yeah.
And the company is finding it more and more difficult. And the workers are finding difficult because their salary has not been increased.
Correct.
And then it comes to a situation where the court feels that now the parties are ready to sit down to talk. And the court suggests, would you all like to sit down and mediate over these problems? By then, the parties have arrived at a situation where they know that even if they somehow manage to come to the end of this case,
Yeah.
whatever is the order will be challenged by one of the parties. So it's not going to end here. You will go to the High Court. In the High Court, the matter may be admitted. In due course, it will come up for final hearing.
Yes.
An order will be passed. Then again, one party will challenge it in Supreme Court. In Supreme Court, rule will be granted, meaning it will be admitted if it is admitted. After that, after quite some time, it will come up for final hearing. By then, where will the workers be and where will the company be? So that realization slowly comes into the minds of the parties as the case goes on.
Hmm.
So they agree for the mediation.
Okay.
Even if one party says, Amala mediation nako,
Ah.
the court cannot refer it to mediation.
Hmm.
It's not a direction to go for mediation.
Okay.
It is a suggestion that comes from the court. Only if the parties agree, then it goes for mediation.
Okay.
Reason being is that if it is a forced mediation, it will not serve the purpose because the mind is not open to see other points of view. The mind is not open to see whether a settlement is possible. So now both the parties said, yes, we are agreeable to go for mediation. So they go for mediation. And in the first meeting, they are both asked to sit together and tell each other's points. So while speaking about their issue, one of the parties becomes angry and starts speaking in an accusatory manner against the opposite party. Now that is creating again a vitiation of the atmosphere. So immediately the mediator stops the discussion and tells one of the parties, you wait out. I will try to understand this party's problem and convey it to you. So one party waits out, one party explains their problem to the mediator. Then that party which sits out and the other party comes in and explains their problem to the mediator. Now, this starting process itself creates a thawing in the mind. Because the people who are getting angry in the joint meeting, they realize that if we continue to be angry, settlement, we are not going to move towards the settlement. Just the process of sitting outside for some time creates that sanity.
Yes.
It is like a mischievous child is told by the teacher, go and stand out for some time.
Correct.
So अक्कल ठिकाने है.
True. Yes.
The whole process is designed with human psychology in mind.
Very nice.
Then both the parties are called in.
Yeah.
And in the presence of each other, the mediator explains to party A about the difficulties of B and vice versa.
Yeah.
Now, this was the same thing the parties could have told each other. But for years they've been telling this to each other. But neither of them have understood that. But when the mediator tells them, it somewhat makes sense. It's the beginning, starting point of making sense. Why? Because when the mediator is telling this, he has removed the anger factor from it.
Correct.
And it is coming from a third party.
Yes.
Who is not seen as a representative of either party, but a middleman.
So, Tokshi ma'am, in these times with lockdown and some countries already showing signs of recession, we will see a lot of these situations where, because of an extraneous factor, companies find it difficult to remain competitive. So, particularly in this COVID time, the opportunity to have these kind of dialogues, which are with the help of a trained mediator, possibly the time is right for people to understand its relevance and importance, especially in these times, isn't it?
I think it is the call of the day. I think any dispute whatsoever can be sorted out through mediation. In fact, even if two people are fighting, at the end of the fight, if they feel they are not able to come back to the original friendship, a simple thing like friendship, where no interests are involved, they are not able to come back to the friendship which was giving them so much happiness. They're going to lose happiness if they lose this friendship. They should go to a third party to help them to get rid of the anger.
Great.
and bring them together and become friends again.
Yeah.
And I believe you, what is the right word? But I can tell you for sure
Hmm.
that once the parties become friends, in their mind, the mediator doesn't even exist. Sometimes they walk out of the room hand in hand without saying thank you and goodbye to the mediator.
Beautiful. Wow. Amazing.
That is true.
Wow. That is so powerful. It's like when the baby is born, I think the parents
Doc-
forget all the doctors.
doctors. Right, right. Yeah.
Beautiful.
That is the hallmark of a successful mediation. Where the mediator is just left looking at the backs of the parties leaving the room. मैं कहाँ था?
Superb. Superb. That must be also very fulfilling.
Very fulfilling.
It's like a teacher feels, I think, when a student does extremely well in a board exam, the child has gone, but the teacher is there,
Remembers that forever
remembers that.
as a victory.
Yes, yes. You mentioned there's a second case. I'll give you a little time check. We have 15 minutes left in the episode. So you'll have to time it accordingly. Your second
Thank you.
case.
Thank you. Thank you. So
And
now I will go a bit faster.
And
Now I've been
yeah, Parvez sir to get 5 minutes as well.
sure. So 10 minutes left.
Yes.
Definitely. I can go fast. So far, it was necessary to explain the basics. Okay. And then thereafter, what happened was the matter went into mediation. The parties were told each other's problems. They were even told that if there is an order, there will be so many appeals. And if you continue with litigation, what will be your costs? And if you can cut down those costs and adjust that against your current salary, will you not be better off because you're contributing so much every month to the union to pay the lawyer?
Wow.
So the mediator shows the parties the ways how not to pay us. Okay? And it's nice if the parties accept it because that brings in peace.
Yeah, yeah.
And that is how slowly and steadily the workers agreed to a small wage cut, but a very big step in terms of doing multitasking.
I see.
There was a culture in that factory, old factories, there were always a culture that one person will do only one job. He will not even clean his machine. For that, a separate group was there. But the workers started accepting that we will not come, we will clean our machinery, we will wind up, we will clean it, we will cover it. And it is possible for me to operate two machines simultaneously. We'll operate two machines. I will not operate only one machine. So that gave a fillip to the industry because they again became very viable. And they could compete in the market and the industry was saved and jobs were saved.
Great.
Now, as against that, another situation which has not resulted in success. There was a closure of a company. And in that closure, the company just stopped paying salary to the workers. And the workers and the union started calculating. This month, so much salary with dearness allowance I would have got. Next year, it would have gone up by this much. Third year, it would have gone up by this much. 10 years, it would have gone up by this much. And I also want interest on the payments not made to me. So a very big bill was made. And the company was paying high legal fees, but could not pay this money. Because this money was much higher than the fighting cost. And several times efforts were made to send the matter for mediation. And in the mediation, the workers made some adjustment. The management made some adjustment. But the whole issue was, if we have to pay you this much money, we can't pay immediately. We can have to pay it to you in a phased out manner because we don't have so much money now. And the workers did not have the confidence that this phase out will work. because the matter will be disposed of. And later on, if the company is not able to pay, how will the workers again come together to get the second or third installment? So they decided that let the court give an order. Finally, the matter was decided. The court gave an order. The payment has not yet been made. Whatever order the court gave, the payment has not been made, and the matter is now going in appeal. So it's all a matter of trust. So mediation sometimes works, sometimes it doesn't work. Here the material circumstances were such that the company could not make the down payment. Therefore, the matter couldn't be settled on the spot.
So for people who are watching us, you must go and look at some of the past episodes of our CMA Samvad, where we have taken up some of these elements and topics, like what are the qualities of a great mediator and so on and so forth. So please go and watch the earlier talks also made by experts at any time. If you want to know more about CMA also, that has been discussed in earlier talks. Here, we are focusing on one segment, which is industrial and labor disputes and how mediation can play a role. Like Hutokshi ma'am is telling us, it is really the need of the hour, especially during these times when there will be unprecedented pressures on industry as well as on labor, on management and on workmen, on regular consumers, because wages, there is an overall shrinking in the economy. So we will have to be prepared for a long haul, and carrying anger, rancor, being able to go and get somebody this is not the right time. Ma'am, you want to build anything, or can I talk to Parvez sir at this stage?
You're asking me?
Yes, Hutokshi ma'am.
I'll just like to conclude.
Yes, please.
By saying that every time you have a problem, whether it is with your spouse or any family member or with your employer or with a business partner or a contractual party, think about mediation, because mediation leaves you with a win-win situation.
Beautiful.
You will not come out of mediation feeling that I have lost, because it is very clear that the mediation process is not supposed to force a weak party to agree to terms. Even the weak party can insist, these are my terms, and I will not agree to these terms. Only if the weak party feels that these terms are good in the long run and I will be saving time and valuable years of my life by agreeing to these terms, then only the mediation order will be passed. There is no force. So there is all the 100% reason to have full confidence in the process of mediation.
Super.
And the next point is that the mediation process permits the stronger party to understand the difficulties of the weaker party.
Yes.
And the mediator is in a position to make humanity prevail over the stronger party. So go for mediation and attain permanent peace. That's all I have to say.
Super.
Thank you.
Hutokshi ma'am, that was really, really nice. I want Parvez sir to tell us, as the co-founder, the founder of CMA, and a champion like Megha Gurav and Advocate Hutokshi Tavadia. Sir, you've been quiet. We want to hear your voice as well. What would you like to give us a perspective to build, or something that you want to emphasize over what Tokshi ma'am has told us and what Megha ma'am has given us as a context, sir?
Good evening all. Thank you very much, Hutokshi ma'am, for your kind words, for your imparting your great knowledge, giving us your experience, sharing your experience with us. Today we are specially connected with the industrial disputes, mediation in industrial disputes, wherein we have a specific provision for the conciliation officers. As Utokshi Ma'am told, conciliation officers normally are not trained mediators. That is a very important criteria wherein the mediation can be more successful. The mediator has to be a great, he should have a skill of communicating with the people, make them communicate with each other. That's a very important thing. So in this particular thing, I would like to point out a very important area, the difference between the conciliation officer and the actual mediator.
Yes.
The role of the mediator, how they can be. For that, I would like to take to the Arbitration and Conciliation Act first, wherein in the Part 3, Section 64, there is a provision for the appointment of conciliator. Basically, in arbitration and conciliation, the conciliator is appointed by the parties themselves. If there is a sole conciliator, he is appointed, it is agreeable by it, once both the parties agree, the conciliator is appointed. Or either party appoints one each, and the third one is appointed, that there is a panel of three. This way it goes. If we come to the today's topic, industrial dispute 1947, as Megha told in the beginning, Section 4, who are the conciliation officers? They are appointed by government by way of a notification or whatever they come out with the notification by way of the government. These conciliation officers are appointed, conciliation officers, who are not actually trained mediators. In the mediation process, the vital and the most important factor is trust.
Yes.
As far as this list is prepared by the government, these conciliation officers, the parties have no option. They have to go on with though the conciliator's job is to mediate, but they have to go on with the available set of the people over there. So there is a problem with the trust. But when the mediator is appointed, the mediator is the person who is appointed by the parties. That's the beauty of mediation. The mediator is appointed by the parties themselves. They agree to the set of mediators. There might be a single mediator or there might be a co-mediator. Mediator being actually mediation is this, like Utokshi Ma'am told, the court can't force mediation. The foundation of the mediation is that it is a voluntary process. It is a voluntary process. The parties have to agree to both the parties voluntarily with their own will, happiness. They have to agree to the mediation. Then if it's a forced mediation by the court or any other authority, that will not suffice the purpose of mediation. So basically, we need to have a mediation. In the industrial dispute itself also, if we take into consideration the conciliation part, the conciliation officers, conciliation, the parties can file an application to the government under Section 10A, if I'm not mistaken, Megha, 10.2. They can file an application for the conciliation. But again, the problem is that the conciliators are the limited persons who are the listed persons. So that's a very major and vast difference. If I get a person of my own choice to settle my dispute, I'm more than happy person.
Correct.
But if I am forced to take a person from the set of individuals available, I might not be satisfied or I might not be happy. And I might not be. That's the major difference between and normally the conciliators or the conciliation officers. I don't say that all are not trained mediators, but they might not be trained mediators. Mediation is an art.
Yes.
So we develop that mediation as an art by taking a proper training. It's an inbuilt beauty in a human to conduct a mediation. There are people we see people like, we have a background of a community mediation in the ancient age. Even today, there are people in community who are not trained mediators, but they have inbuilt beauty to settle the matters. To develop that particular art, this mediation training is being imparted.
Yes. Yes.
So this is a major difference between this is what is a very important part, because in the Industrial Dispute Act 1947, conciliation is the foundation already laid over there. I would rather suggest if certain amendment could come out in this aspect. Amendment could come out in this aspect that a person can have even in the form of conciliator, they can have their own conciliator person of their own choice, so that they can have a proper trust in that person. So this way, it will be a more effective thing in the industrial disputes. Because in this pandemic time, we being in social environment, normally we roam around, we do a lot of social things. Where
travel restriction and social distancing.
What I want to convey that I, as a person, social person, well, I roam around, I meet a lot of people who are into that situation. I have seen the people, this is more affected the small scale industries, because the industries are small, their resources are small, and their employees, their payments are also not that high level. At the end of month, in the normal circumstances also they face problem. Normal life also they face problem. That's the issue. So that's why the most affected is the small scale industries people. Wherein the people who have small scale industry, they have limited sources. The employees working with them, they have limited source. They are into their situation as of now. In this pandemic situation, mediation will be the best option. I would rather improvise them. I say it will be the only option, not the best option.
Yeah.
Because no one is interested to go on in the litigation part, go to the labor court, go to the CAT or any other tribunals and prolong the issues. Everyone will be interested, and that is for the benefit of the public at large.
Yes.
The affected public at large, to take mediation as a course of action to settle their disputes.
Absolutely.
That's how we can go, ma'am.
Yeah. So, Parvez, sir, we have come to the close of our show today. And
sorry, I have somehow managed to exit.
No, you are here.
You are here, ma'am.
I can't see myself.
Yeah, you are here, very much here. We can see you. So to all our viewers today, and to all our viewers who will be coming later, many of the students, many lawyers, people who are not from legal professions, but who feel intrinsically inclined to resolve disputes, who get called upon as the wise voice in your friend circle, you are the people who might want to come and take advantage of these times to go and get yourself trained, get yourself certified. And please go and look up the website of the CMA to find out. Some people have asked questions, our panelists, saying how can people go and get trained? So please go and look at the CMA website. And like you heard these senior people tell us, this is the only way in these times that will bring us not only peace and harmony in our homes, in our industries, in our management, in keeping the wheels of the economy well oiled and moving, but really even in global scenarios to bring peace, bring harmony, and lead to a world where all of us have moved and progressed in a win-win way. Mediation is the only way. So for coming here today, Hutokshi ma'am.
It is very important for us to be in win-win situation in this pandemic condition. Yes. Instead of fighting with each other, we have to be in a win-win situation.
Absolutely. Megha ma'am.
Yes, Honorable Supreme Court. Yeah, thank you. Even Honorable Supreme Court also suggests discuss both the parties and settle your problems regarding the wages. So In such circumstances, mediation helps to solve disputes in win-win situation and maintain cordial relationship between the labor and industry. So thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you all. Thank you, Utokshi ma'am, for your.
So let's keep it win-win.
Keep it
Win-win situation.
Yes.
See you soon.
Thank you.
Bye.
Yes.
Take care, everyone.
Thank you.